Hello, you beautiful nerds. So, as you know, I loved the Batman. Or maybe not, because you didn't know, nobody watched that video. But as much as I liked that movie, I was not interested in any spin-off TV show bullshit. Especially a show that is focused on a villain. Disney Plus MCU shows are good maybe 1 out of 5 times. So having that as a comp, I was very scared that this world that was created in the Batman would turn into Moon Knight. But now I am happy to spend the next few minutes telling you about how very wrong and stupid I was. So get comfy, because we're about to have a chat about the But first, a prelude. In the year of our Lord 2022, director Matt Reeves directed a little movie called Shortly after the movie came out, I started hearing stories about different projects in development that would be set in the same universe created in the Batman. This ultimately led to the HBO series The Penguin being developed. Again, I was not super interested in the idea of this show. I mean, I was always gonna watch it because nerd, but I didn't think it would be anywhere near as good. But the series ended up being everything I wanted Gotham to be, which I get that was like, I was asking too much from Gotham. I realize that now. So let's talk about the story. This story obviously follows Oswald Cobb, aka the Penguin, shortly after the events of the Batman. Gotham is still the corrupt cesspool from the Batman, but in this series we get a deeper dive into the criminal underworld because this story is from the perspective of a mid-level gangster and his rise to the top. The way the show portrays crime and economic inequality and how those factors can totally decimate a community is definitely the show's greatest strength. Gotham is the worst city in this fictional America, and we see what it looks like when the resources and public servants for a city have been corrupted at every level. Even the fictional drugs like Bliss and Drops feel real because we see how it affects the people of Gotham for good and for ill. Because just like all drug cultures, there is a buyer and there is a seller. A lot of people are getting hurt from this, but there are also a lot of people getting very rich from this. And though none of the characters in this show are particularly likable, we do get an understanding of where they are coming from and what their motivations are. We see from a very young age, Oz has always been kind of an evil little shit. But we also see that rather than having the better angels of his nature be nurtured, he is embraced by a culture of crime, corruption, and violence. The acting on this show is remarkable. There is literally no weak link in this cast. I thought it would be Vic, because sometimes they just like to make those kind of characters super fucking annoying in these kind of shows, but luckily that did not happen. He was fine. I even love the weird accent everyone is doing. At first, I remember thinking when I saw the Batman, wow, Colin is he's laying this accent on a little bit thick.
Want to know things about me? Why don't you send me a little email? I'll write you back real quick. Where do you live? Where do you live, actually? I can hand deliver a letter to you. I can hand deliver a letter to you.
This is kind of a fake accent from a place that doesn't exist, so I guess I'm cool with it. Like, I can't say the guy is doing an unauthentic Gotham accent. Gothamites don't sound like that. And dude was actually my MVP. At first. On the podcast, I did say that he was my MVP because it's kind of undeniable that this series and this depiction of this character with all the makeup and shit lives or dies on the back of Colin Farrell's performance. Like, I'm not saying that no one else could play this role. Paul Walter Hauser comes to mind. He apparently expressed interest in the role.
I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, you couldn't have found, like, Paul Walter Hauser's right there. Like, you couldn't have found an already kind of large actor to do this. I mentioned Paul Walter Hauser because the first time I met him, he was like, I want to play the Penguin so badly.
But I'll tell you two things. One, if Colin's performance was bad, this show would not be good. And two, no one else who looks like Colin Farrell would be able to cultivate this character the way he has. And by actors who look like Colin Farrell, I think you know exactly what I mean. Apparently he had a big hand in them going in the direction of doing a fat suit and everything. And that turned out to be one of the best decisions they could have ever made, because it really allowed one of the most famous guys on the planet to look wholly unrecognizable and gave him the rope to really make a meal out of this role. But no, after much hand-wringing, I finally concluded that the title of MVP must go to Sofia Gigante. Christine Milioti was absolutely fantastic. Her character is just so layered and interesting. Her Arkham episode was hands down my favorite of the series. It was like an episode of The Night Of, but set in one of the most iconic and fucked up locations in literary history. Here's a clip from that episode, but I'm only going to show a little bit because copyright stuff, but just be warned, it's pretty disturbing.
Liz, thank you. Oh, our nips just touched. My are so hard.
In all seriousness, the first time I saw this actress was in an episode of 30 Rock. So watching how she was able to portray this haunted, sadistic character was a joy to see. I've seen her in some other stuff leading up to this, most notably, I guess, How I Met Your Mother. That's where a lot of people know her from. And in retrospect, it's like all of those characters are little stepping stones culminating to this magnificent performance. All right, that's it for this video. Make sure to like and
That's not good enough.
okay, I'm sorry. You're right. There's one more thing I should talk about. My boy, Bruce.
Why you trying to hurt me? Why you trying to hurt me? Don't y'all know I'm Bruce?
Let's talk about the presence of Batman, or lack thereof, and how this leads into the next film. I've heard some people mention that they were disappointed that Batman didn't show up in The Penguin. Some people just wanted a little fan service, and the others thought it was inexplicable that all of this would be going down without the Caped Crusader catching wind of it. And I'm gonna address the second complaint, because if you want fan service in a show like this, I mean, I really can't. I'm not sure what you're really looking for. This is not that kind of show. But to answer where the hell Batman is, I mean, dude's busy. He's got a lot of shit going on. In the first few minutes of The Batman, Bruce tells us how he feels overwhelmed by the crime in Gotham.
I must choose my targets carefully. I can't be everywhere.
And how he feels that he can't do enough in this vast city that is so corrupt to its core. In most stories, Batman is only focusing on one investigation at a time. It might lead into another investigation, but like that's not his main focus. He's usually just trying to solve one crime. Like during this series, he could be chasing another serial killer and not have the time or resources to follow up on any of this shit right now. And even with the bomb going off in Crown Heights, what is he supposed to do? Like, you expect him to be doing damage control with the patrol cops? Or do you expect him to be sitting in the cave trying to figure out how this happened? My bet is on the latter, and in a show like this, we don't need a scene of Bruce just like going through newspaper clippings or shit like that. Another thing that's great about the show is how the events of the Penguin don't have to be super relevant to the next Batman flick. Oz doesn't necessarily have to be the villain of the next movie. This does establish a new status quo of the organized crime in Gotham, but I think that can be peripheral to whatever adventure we see Bruce go on next time out. We get nods to things like Hush, the Court of Owls, the No Man's Land storyline, a bunch of really cool stuff from the comics that could be fleshed out later, but the next few movies don't even have to go in that direction. It simply just makes this whole universe that much more tangible and real. This show exceeded my expectations at every turn. Just when I thought I had predicted what would happen on the show, it would throw me a curveball. And I routinely forgot that this was a show about a comic book character. There will be moments where I'm into it and just like watching and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, fucking Magpie is in this show. This show and The Batman did such a great job of fleshing out this world and its culture and characters that the sequel could literally go in any direction. There is so much bad shit going on. I definitely have faith in what this team is doing though, and I can't wait to dive back into the dingy depths of Gotham City. In fact, I'm gonna go watch Batman right now. I'll see you guys later. My ranking, I loved it. All right, that's it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to all of our new subscribers. We appreciate it. And consider perusing through our merchandise store where we have hats, hoodies, shirts, mugs, and a whole bunch of other shit with our stupid name on it. So until next time, stay safe, my little drop heads, and may the force be with you.